Hello and welcome to Big Bore Knife and Gear. Well, today we're going to have part 2 of the Off-Grid Knives series. Part 1 was the Off-Grid Knives Viper. This is the Off-Grid Knives Rhino. So let's get this sucker open. Comes in a very nice box. Oh, that action is just fantastic. Let's get some quick specs out of the way and we'll start talking about this beautiful beast of a knife. We've got an overall length of 8 1/4 inches, blade length of 3 1/2 inches, blade thickness on this is 3 1/2 millimeters, blade steel on this one is D2, blade finish blackwashed. Actually, this is the blacked out version, so it's all black. G10 scales on this, running on ceramic bearings, and this thing is coming in at a hefty 6.6 ounces, which I don't mind at all because I love a big knife and the weight doesn't bother me. So let's go over this beauty. Let's start with the scales. The G10 scales on this are done just fantastically. Nice and textured. Not real aggressive, but still gives you a very firm, positive grip. I love this sunburst style milling that's on there. One, it looks fantastic, and two, it really, really does fit securely in hand. This particular version is tip up right hand carry only with a very deep carry pocket clip. Basically, you will not see any of this knife in your pocket, which is fantastic. Action on this sucker is incredible. Super smooth, super snappy. The jimping on the flipper tab is done very well. Oh, this thing is just such a joy to operate. Sorry, I'm over here laughing like a little school kid, but a great action really gets me going. Ergos on this are absolutely fantastic. If you go back one video prior to this one, part 1, which was the Viper, it's a smaller knife, and the pocket clip on the Viper very similar to this. However, on that smaller handle, it really dug into my hand pretty good. This one, no issues with that whatsoever. This larger design size is just absolutely perfect for my extra large size hands. So as you can see there, full 4-finger grip with a little bit to spare. The up ramp for your thumb here on the blade and where the jimping is for my size hand is absolutely perfect. Everything lines up, falls right into place. Super comfortable, super good ergos. Look at this fantastic, I hate to call it leaf style like, Spyderco does, but this modified drop point, we'll call it that, with this big beautiful belly, full flat grind on this. While I didn't measure, it's not super thin behind the edge, but boy does this thing slice. It worked really well with push cuts, slicing paper on paper, cardboard, just did a fantastic job. I didn't do too much use on it since this knife is not mine. Huge thank you to A Therapeutic Edge. This is his for letting me check this out. This black wash titanium nitrate coating on here is just done fantastically. As you can see, again, no hard use, but I did cut some cardboard and paper with it, and no marks whatsoever on that coating. Speaking of marks, the only thing you're going to see on this blade is the Off-Grid Knives logo, and then the blade steel, which is D2. Other than that, and the logo on the clip, the entire knife is blacked out, which I love. It just looks mean, looks great, feels great. This thing is a definite keeper in my book. In fact, I'm going to have to just get one. So thank you for that, Peter. These things are still readily available on both Amazon and offgridknives.com. Amazon right now, they're running $75. On offgridknives.com, they're actually running $70. So cheaper to get it from the supplier than it is from Amazon. This one is produced overseas in China. This is made for off-grid knives by Bestech. So if you guys are familiar with Bestech and how good they make a knife, this one does not disappoint. Centering is right down the pipe. Again, the action on this is ridiculously smooth. Detent is great. Let me see if I can do this without hitting the camera. Yeah, super smooth, super fantastic. What an outstanding job. Well, if you guys are into, I would call this a big knife. It's not huge. Again, coming in at 8 1/4 inches overall length, which for me is pretty much the damn near perfect DD size for my personal choice, my big old hands. I would strongly suggest you guys checking out off-grid knives. If you're into the bigger knives, I would I would highly recommend getting one of these Rhinos in your hand, because I'm just blown away by how good this feels, the quality, the overall design, the aesthetics, everything on this knife just speaks to me. And the best part is the absolute surprise the first time I fired this thing open. Listen to that. Listen to that snap. This thing is a rocket. And again, I'm going to try to do this without hitting the camera. Super smooth action. It almost drop shuts on its own. Little bit of wiggle. Yeah. Fantastic. Ooh. Tell me what you guys think. Oh, if I didn't mention G10 backspacer on there as well. It is a liner lock, steel liners. Again, those have been blacked out also. It does come very sharp, as I damn near just cut my thumb trying to do this. The scales, it's hard to see, but because everything's black, but they are skeletonized, or I should say milled out, to help reduce weight, only on the one side though. See if we can get that to focus in there. There we go. So you got some good milling on the scales. Again, this thing's coming in at 6.6 ounces, which for some people, might be a negative, but for me, doesn't do a thing for me. I could care less about the weight. In fact, this thing, even though it's 6.5 ounces or just over, doesn't really feel like it. Carries very well in pocket. The only drawback, I shouldn't even say drawback, the only issue I had with this knife is when it was in pocket and I had to reach in. The flipper tab does stick out. It's pretty predominant. And every now and then I'd catch it on my pinky. No big deal. But for that to be my only complaint on a knife, I think is outstanding. Fantastic job. Anyhow, that's all I got for today, folks. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, because I love the feedback. And stay tuned for Off-Grid Knives Part 3 coming up in a couple of days. Got another little beauty coming up, so stick around for that. Stay tuned. Have a great day.